Love is in the air. We're talking weddings with this segment, and look at these beautiful invitations, scrapbook page, flowers, save the date, thank you notes, everything that you can create yourself. They're beautiful and it'll save you a ton of money. And you know what I'm using? I'm using Spellbinder's Wizard. Now, you've seen me do a ton of segments using the Wizard before. So if you need to refresh yourself on the techniques, certainly go back and look at some of the other segments. So the first one that we're going to do, actually, I'm going to recreate this card because all of the techniques that are used in this card are used throughout this whole ensemble. We're using 2 different dies for this top piece of paper. We're using a chalking technique with this die here and this beautiful little flower, kind of a folding technique to make it look absolutely stunning and almost real, I think. So first of all, we're going to start with the basics, and I'm going to take the second to the largest rectangle here and place it on my magnetized mat, and I'm going to start with some white cardstock. Now, all of the measurements for the cards that we created here with this segment are in the instructions, so I'm not going to bog you down with a whole bunch of numbers. So we're going to start with cutting our first top piece of paper. Whew, all right, comes flying out. And of course, we're going to emboss it because with the Wizard, as you remember, it is a cutting, embossing, and stenciling, if you choose, process. Okay, run that through. Okay. Now the second part of this 2-part process is this beautiful little scalloped edge right here. So that's what we're going to do right now. So you're going to take the card that you just cut, and I'm going to place my lattice border on my magnetized piece here, and you want the embossed side to go face down. And if you'll notice, I'm going to lay the card pretty much right at the very edge. So you can see the scallop right there, and I'm just going to lay the card right at the very edge. And there's a little cut right there, and I want to make sure I get that cute little cut in there. So I'm going to put that right there, and I'm going to run it through the Wizard again. All right, let's see what we have here. Put that around. Voila! The next step is to recreate this vine. And here's what I used. I used this beautiful template here. Now, obviously, I'm not going to use it all, but it doesn't matter. I'm putting the color, oops, put my magnet on there, and putting on the color that I want facing out down and run it through the Wizard. So you end up with something that looks like this. Okay, now what makes this vine viney? So beautiful? Little tip, chalk. Now there's a couple different ways you can do it. You can take a little bit of chalk and use your finger. You can use this handy dandy little tool that I have here, but look at all these colors that I have here. Yummy. So I want it to be kind of viney, so I'm going to go with maybe a little olive and a little green. And all you do is run your little tool over the embossed edges, and I use my finger to kind of make it soft, and those embossed edges just really stand out. And if you want it to be perfect, you can do it while your die is still on the paper before you lift it off. But it doesn't really matter, however you want to do it. Isn't that beautiful? I love that. Okay, so now that we've got that cut, so let's assemble the card. And you can see this card has another piece of paper underneath it. And you might think, well, use the larger die template here, but it's not quite wide enough. So what we did is put the white card on top of our cardstock and then just hand trimmed around it and made a nice straight border underneath. Okay? So this is what's going to go on top of your card. Okay? Now, let's do our vine here that we just created. Now, it's nice and flat, and that's great if that's the way you like it, but I kind of like a little dimension. So I like to take my paper and just press down on my hand on a soft, cushy surface. And my hand's very cushy. And just give it some dimension, you know, give the leaves a little bit of a crinkle. Just kind of fold them up a little bit. So I'm just going to set this aside for right now. And now we're going to hit the flowers, which are so adorable. So these are the dies that we're going to use to make the flowers. And we're going to use the second and the first smallest die cuts, okay? Now, I've already cut them. I've got 2 of them right here. What I did not do was emboss them. I only cut them. But here's where the fun part comes in. So once again, we're going to take our chalk, or however you want to create some color for your flowers. And I like to just, you know, place the flower in my hand. And I like to use my finger on this one. So I have all this really pretty chalk here, and I'm just going to chalk it, maybe with a couple of different colors to give it some dimension. This is kind of a little peachy color, and I'll go in with a little yellow around the edge. You can do any color you like, of course. Okay, there's our big flower. Now we'll do the smaller one. Maybe a little more intense color for the smaller one. A little lighter around the edge. Just like that. Okay. And then once again, using your hand as your cushy pad, I just push your finger in there and just smash your flower down. Put that like that, and then like that, and you've got the beginnings of a beautiful little flower. Okay, so now I'm just going to glue these 2 together. Okay, just like that. All right. You can use regular glue. I'm using an adhesive, but glue just takes longer. Okay, so now we're going to create the center of the flower. The center of the flower, I think, is really what makes it look so unique and so gorgeous. And let me show you what we're using. It's called Flower Soft, and it basically, I don't even know what the materials are in it, but it's just like this yummy little creation of, it's just like a fluffy, textury type powder, and it comes in a whole bunch of colors. But this is what we're going to use to create the center portion of the flower. And all you do is put a little glob of glue in the center. It's pretty tacky. Just like that. And then sprinkle a little bit of your Flower Soft right on top of that. It's okay if you go over a little bit, because whatever doesn't stick, you can put right back in your container. There you go. We're going to let that dry. So the next step is really to start to assemble your card. And I want to show you the inside of this card. It's one folded piece of cardstock, and everything that we're creating creates the top part of the card. And you see, we don't see the ribbon behind it. So that's really the next step, is to attach your ribbon, which I've done here. Glued it to the inside, just like that. And then I laid my vine on top of that. Added a few little embellishments here of some pretty pearls. And next I'm going to add the flower. Just put a little spot of glue. And my bow. Put another spot of glue. I always like to wrap the card with the ribbon first and then make a separate bow like I did here, because I think it just really lays better. Instead of trying to wrap the ribbon around your card and tying a bow, it just doesn't work. And there you go. So just click on the instructions page for all of the materials that we use for the project today, including how to get your own, create your own dream wedding book. There are tons and tons of more great ideas, and also a link right to Spellbinders so you can get your very own wizard.